Hi, my name is Lena.
Hi, my name is Paulina.
Hi, my name is Neda, and
we are your hosts for today. Hello everyone and welcome to today's podcast episode, Move One Burp at a Time. Today's episode is all about a big friendly animal you've probably seen on a farm. That's right, cows. But did you know that cows burp a lot and that those burps can actually harm the planet? Sounds strange, right? But it's true. In this episode, we're asking, why do cows produce methane and how can algae help stop it? So grab your headphones, get comfy, and join us as we explore cow tummies, stinky gas, and one slimy green hero that might just help save the earth. We will guide you today in the fantastic world of cows, algae, and methane, so Methane. I think it's such a difficult word to pronounce.
Oh, that sounds interesting, Lena. Do you guys like cows? Have you ever thought of them as superheroes?
yes, our superheroes, the cows, can save the planet from a lot of danger just by eating their lunch. The supervillain, the methane, keeps on rising and rising, hurting our lovely planet. So our dear cows, by the help of a long-time sea friend, the algae, tiny green plants that live in water and make their own food using sunlight, stop the methane from getting bigger and getting more power. Sounds cool now, right? Do you guys remember when was the last time you met cows, pet them, and saw them enjoying their meal?
So in my family, my grandpa had a farm with lots of cows and the farm got bigger and bigger over the years. When I was little, I loved spending time there because they were tiny kittens and they were so cute. I also liked watching the calves and I remember their long tongues. They were so funny. And the smell of the cow poo wasn't my favorite, but everything else was so much fun. What about you, Paulina?
I think I have only seen them at a farm many years ago. And I remember they were eating grass. I think because they need a lot of energy to produce milk and to feed their babies. But when they eat too much, they burp and it produces methane, which is like a blanket of gas that we can't see or smell. And when there is too much, it makes the earth warmer and more uncomfortable for us humans to live.
Cows, algae, and lots of burps. To explore this fascinating topic in more detail, let's ask someone who is a specialist and works with this topic every day. They can tell us more about it. Today, we're joined by a biology expert. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Did you know that the number of algae in the Earth's oceans vastly exceeds the number of stars in the observable universe?
Welcome to our biology expert, Fernanda Miyagi. Fernanda is a fantastic marine biologist who studied in Peru, a country with a beautiful coast. Even while she was learning, she spent lots of time volunteering to help protect Peru's amazing ocean animals and plants. And her work goes even deeper. Fernanda is super passionate about using tiny ocean plant-like organisms, called algae, to create incredible new things. She's explored how algae can make special food for plants, healthy snacks, and even medicine for us. She even did a big project on making a natural, ocean-friendly sunscreen from algae. How cool is that? She is also working on some super exciting projects. She's trying to make plastic from algae that's much better for our planet right now. And get this, she's also figuring out how to feed farm animals algae to reduce their methane gas, which is our topic for today's episode. First of all, thank you so much for joining us, Fernanda, and for helping us make science fun and easy to understand. Now, let's jump into our first question. So, Fernanda, what are algae exactly?
Thank you so much for having me here and for all your nice words. So what is algae? Algae are often called plants of the sea, but they aren't really plants. They are a big group of living things that can make their own food using sunlight, and most of them live in the water. Some are super tiny and others like seaweed and kelp can be really big. Since most of our planet is covered by oceans, it makes sense that there are many kinds of algae than land plants, right? And guess what? Scientists are still finding new ones all the time.
Oh, this is so cool! And how can this secret weapon help us fight too much methane in the air?
Okay, to understand this, we first need to know what methane is. Methane is a gas that traps heat in the air, kind of like a big blanket around the Earth. It's much stronger than carbon dioxide, another more common heat-trapping gas. Even though methane doesn't stay in there as long, it can warm the planet really fast. One big way humans make methane is through farm animals, like for example, cows, sheep, and goats. These animals have a special stomach with tiny helpers inside called microbes. These microbes help them digest grass and plants, but during that process, the animal burps out methane. The problem isn't the animal itself, it's how many they are. There are billions of them, and all burping adds up. That's a big reason why farming can cause global warming. But there's the cool part. Some kinds of seaweeds, like a red one called asparagopsis, have special stuff inside that stop microbes from making so much methane. For example, if farmers mix just a little bit of a seaweed into animal food, they burp way less methane, up to 80 or even 90% less. So algae could be a superhero from the sea, helping us fight climate change just by changing what animals eat. Sounds so simple, right?
So now our third question is, what are the biggest challenges in using algae to cut methane emissions?
So even though algae can help animals burp less methane, there are still some tricky problems to solve. First, some seaweed, like asparagopsis, as I said, can make the animal's food taste or smell a little bit weird. If animals don't like the smell or taste, they might not want to eat it. So scientists are trying to find some ways to make the algae taste better for animals. Second, we have to make sure animals stay healthy and that the milk and the meat from those animals is still safe for people to eat. So far, when the right amount of algae is used, everything looks good. But scientists are still double-checking just to be sure. Third, we need a lot of algae if we want to feed animals all over the world. That means growing tons of seaweed in a way that it's good for the nature and not expensive for farmers. So scientists and farmers are working together to find a smart and safe ways to grow more algae without hurting the oceans. Therefore, algae have great potential. But we still have work to do to make it work everywhere.
And last but not least, has there been enough research done about this topic around the world?
Yes, and it's getting more exciting every year. Around 2016, scientists in Australia found out that a special red seaweed, asparagopsis, could help animals burp less methane. That was a big discovery. Since then, other countries, for example, United States, New Zealand, and places in Europe have started doing their own research and small tests too. Now, some companies are trying to make algae food for animals that farmers can actually buy and use. But scientists still need to do more studies, like how much algae is just right, how it works over the long time, and how to grow lots of algae in a smart and safe way.
Thanks for answering our third question, but for the most important part, we have a very special guest who wants to know a little bit more about this topic. Meet Lynn, who is super curious and has some questions for you, our scientist Fernanda. Are you ready to hear some good questions and learn more new things?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm so curious about it.
So when was the very first time seeing that cool algae stuff?
If you mean the first time that I ever saw algae, it was when I was a kid playing near the ocean and I saw seaweed moving like rivers in the waves, and I was so curious about it. But if you ask me about the cool thing that algae does to reduce methane, I saw it for the first time during my studies as a marine biologist. I remember thinking, wait, this sea plant can actually help fight climate change. That's amazing.
What makes algae so special to you? I mean, it's just green and slimy, right? But it clearly does something amazing.
Yes, I know, it can look slimy and weird, but don't be fooled. Algae are superheroes in disguise. They make over the half of oxygen we breathe, more than all the trees. They are the real lungs of our planet. A lot of people say Amazon rainforest is the lung of our planet, and it's super important, yes, but actually are algae and phytoplankton. Also, they feed ocean animals and keep marine life alive. And now, we have discovered that some algae can help cows burp less methane, which helps our planet stay cooler. So yes, it's green, a little bit gooey, and sometimes it can stink. But it's also powerful, useful, and beautiful if you look closer.
Okay, so what actually happens inside a cow's tummy when it eats that squishy green? Like, how does it stop the burp?
Inside cow's tummy, especially the first part called rumen, There are tiny microbes that help break down food. But when they digest plants, they also make methane gas, which comes out as burps. Now, when we give the cow a tiny bit of a special algae, in this case red seaweed, Aspargopsis, it stops the microbes from making so much methane. So instead of making a big burp full of gas, the cow digests its food quietly and helps the planet.
And why is methane such a big deal anyway? Is it really that bad? Can just a little bit of algae really makes a difference?
Methane is a super strong greenhouse gas, way stronger than carbon dioxide. In fact, over 20 years, methane can trap about 80 times more heat than carbon dioxide. That's a big deal for our warming planet. But here's the exciting part. If cows eat just a little bit of special algae, less than a spoonful a day, they can burp up to 80% less methane. That's a huge difference. Imagine if just millions of cows around the world ate algae, it will help cool down the earth so much faster. So yes, even something small and squishy can be super powerful when it's used the right way. So I hope I answered all your questions and thank you for having me here.
A single cow can burp up to 250 to 500 liters of methane every day.
First of all, a big thank you to Fernanda for telling us so much cool stuff about algae and how they can help the planet. What a talk we had about this fun topic, and we learned a lot about the algae. And that's super important because we want to keep our planet healthy. So maybe one day algae and cows will be best buddies. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, wasn't that fun? I think it was amazing to have such a super scientist on our podcast today. And wow, didn't then ask some amazing questions. It's so cool to see young minds like yours excited about science. And what I really love is when scientists try to find smart ways to help our planet. The more we talk about it, the more we understand.
Totally. And the best part is, you don't have to wait until you are a grown-up to make a difference. So keep being curious and keep speaking up.
Well, friends, that brings us to the end of today's episode of our podcast, Moving One Burp at a Time. We talked all about cows, their burps, a gas called methane, and our amazing green hero, algae. That clever algae helped us protect our precious planet from too much methane. But guess what? The best part is, you can be a hero too. So always keep that in mind. Let us all be planet protectors and make our world even better. That's it for today. Keep on moving and keep on learning, and
See you next time.